Okay, I am back in Christine's kitchen, and today we're doing shrimp ceviche. I was craving it. It's a great summer dish. And let me tell you at first, kind of where I got this recipe. One time I was in Mexico. I'd never heard of ceviche before, many years ago. And I loved it. It was really great. It was just at a Mexican restaurant, or obviously in Mexico, and ordered ceviche and just was like, this is the tastiest thing I've had. And so I tend to go to restaurants and then come home and make my own version. So this is Christine's version of shrimp ceviche. Another thing to just kind of take note of is that usually ceviche is raw fish that is soaked in lime juice, and that citrus is what actually cooks the meat. So in this case, when I do mine, I don't trust myself that the lime juice is cooking it well enough. Typically you'll see a medley of maybe scallops, tilapia, and shrimp in your ceviche if you order it from a restaurant. I don't trust myself, so I like to cook it and then make the ceviche. So my shrimp, I like to use Kirkland Costco's shrimp. They are raw because I do like to cook it myself. When you buy shrimp that's already cooked, it tends to be a little bit tougher, and so I like to boil it and cook it myself. I always buy the tail. Well, typically also you can't buy raw shrimp unless the tail is still on, which is fine, but I do like it peeled and the guts removed, devined or devined, sorry. So this is what I typically buy. You can buy it already cooked if you want, but again, I think it's a little bit chewy. When you're boiling your shrimp, it is going to cook in just a matter of minutes. The minute it hits the hot water, you're gonna boil water, and the shrimp is gray when it's raw. Now this is still kind of frozen, but it's very gray and white when it's frozen, or excuse me, when it's not cooked. You boil water, and then you're just gonna drop that shrimp. It needs to be de-thawed. This is still frozen. It needs to be de-thawed. You're gonna drop it into the boiling water, and it's gonna immediately start to cook. Literally, it takes just a couple of minutes, and once it's pink in color, you know it's done. You don't want it to sit there and boil longer, because the more you do, the tougher it gets, and it's gonna be more chewy. And you want it to be nice and tender shrimp. So these I left over so that I could show you. You're gonna peel off this little tail, and if you just pinch it right here where the joint is, if you just pinch it and pull this part, this whole part that was inside this last little piece of skin comes out, okay? So pretty simple, just to pinch and pull, and that whole thing comes out. Again, this one has a couple of legs left over on it. It didn't quite get off, so I'll pull off those legs and then pinch and pull all that meat out, and you can get all the meat. When you're cutting your shrimp, you want kind of bite-sized pieces because ceviche is just basically a bunch of chopped vegetables and spices and fish, and you just don't want a big old hunk of shrimp like this. So the quick and easy way to do it is I take this U shape and I just cut it right down here. So then this whole circular part is one bite. This is a bite, and this is a bite. Now these are large shrimp. If you do small shrimp, you can just cut them, and they'll only be about that big, and you can cut them in half, and it'll be about that size, okay? But to go quick and easy, when you've got a whole bunch of shrimp, you just fold that U in half, and you cut it right up to the to that folding point. Then you've got 3 nice sized pieces that are bite size, and it's just one cut and easy to get done. So in this recipe that we're doing today, I'm going to demonstrate, I usually double or triple the recipe, but this is gonna be 1 pound of shrimp that has already been cooked if you're doing tilapia and you don't want to let it sit in the lime juice or the citrus in order for it to cook, I like to grill the tilapia, and then it has a little bit of a grill flavor in with all of the flavors of the ceviche. So today we're doing shrimp ceviche. I've already got boiled shrimp here, cut and ready to go, and we're gonna go ahead and get started with that. So I'm gonna put in 1 pound, and that was 1 pound prior to cooking, okay? 1 pound, and it turns out to be about 2 cups of shrimp chopped up. Once it's all chopped up, it's about 2 cups. Then we're gonna do a 1/2 cup of onions. Now I've demonstrated how I cut onions before, and I am gonna be demonstrating all the ways to cut in this because I think it helps to make it a little bit easier for you. So on this, I've already got my 1/2 of an onion cut off. I cleaned off this end. I've left my tail on. I've demonstrated this before. But again, we're gonna come in here and I've cut on depending on how big I want them. I want these pretty small diced. So I've come in and I've cut little strips all the way to the center of my onion. That little came out. And then once you've done that all the way around, you've got all these little things, kind of like a Awesome Blossom when you buy it breaded at the restaurant. And then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna cut it pretty small, okay? Because I don't want any big chunks of onion either. So I'm dicing this pretty small. And of the onion, I want about a 1/2 cup. So it's probably gonna be a little over 1/4 of an onion. So that's probably about all I need. Here's my 1/2 cupper. And really you can do this in ratios. You can kind of figure out how much you like. But see how small that onion is? Now you're not gonna get a big old chunk of onion in your mouth that's gonna be less desirable. I'm gonna build that up a little bit more. I want a little bit more than that. So I'm doing a little heaping because ratio-wise, my shrimp, I think that's about how much onion I want. And this is a sweet white onion, so it's not gonna be real dominant in our ceviche. Now, the next thing I'm gonna show you is the jalapeno. For me, when I cut jalapenos, I don't want to, when I cut jalapenos, I don't like to touch them because then I inevitably will touch my eyes and then my eyes are burning. So I will buy these vinyl gloves from Walmart. This is like $5 for 50 gloves. And then I don't get any of the juices from that on my hands and then in my eyes. So I'm going to put these little gloves on, and then I'm going to demonstrate on the jalapeno how I like to cut it. So here you have your jalapeno. I like to cut off the whole top, and then I cut it in half. Okay. Now, a quick and easy way is this is a grapefruit spoon. It's got the sharp little edge on here so that you can do your grapefruit. And then I will just go like this and cut out the center of that jalapeno. It's de-seeded. This, the little white, I forget what it's called, on the inside of the jalapeno is what a lot of times is the very spicy part. So you can scratch that out as much as you want and it will make the ceviche less hot, okay? Again, all those juices could be going on my skin, but I've got my gloves on. If you wanted to do your fish in your gloves too, you can, it kind of helps. But anyways, you can clean those out really nicely with a grapefruit spoon. Who'd have thought? So now, when I go to cut my jalapeno, again, I don't want really big pieces. And so I'm going to cut this into small slices like this. And I'm going to, so they're like little pencils of jalapeno. And then I can just come in and dice them like this. Okay, look how nice that is. So once you get it in the little slices, it's easy to get them to a small diced size. And so that's not gonna be really big in your mouth. So we're gonna use a 1/4 cup of diced finely jalapenos. So we're gonna put that into our bowl. Okay. Alrighty. Then we're going to put in some tomatoes. Now, I like to use just canned Rotels. So for 1 pound of shrimp, I'm gonna use 1 can of Rotels and all the juice that goes along with it. It does have some spice in it. If you want to have a spicier Rotel, a spicier ceviche, you can go for it that way. But I just like to use the can. You can also use regular tomatoes. You got some Roma tomatoes. You'd probably want to put in 3 or 4 Roma tomatoes for 1 pound of shrimp. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take off my gloves. I don't need those anymore. Okay, then the next thing we're gonna add is the kind of the flavoring and the spices. Now, I will say the avocado that I'm gonna put in isn't really the flavoring, but I put the avocado in last because if my avocado is really ripe, I want to mix all the juices and everything in and then put my avocado and just toss it in. Because if my avocado is really ripe, then it's going to be a little bit mushy. And sometimes I've made ceviche and it's just kind of like a cream sauce of avocado because the avocados broke down so much because we've stirred it so much. So I always wait till the end because my avocado, one of them today, is a little bit too soft and it is gonna probably turn to a little bit of a mush if I did it right now, okay? So we're gonna put in cilantro. Now I'm gonna show you on the cilantro. Here's a branch of cilantro. This came off of a big bundle and this is probably about 1/4 of the bundle. So, but I'm saving 2 of these so I can show you how I take the leaves off. Basically, I'll grab it like this and I'll just pull it with my fingers to get the stems off because I only want the leaves. I don't want to have the big stems. I don't want to bite into some ceviche and have a chunk of stem. That's not very good. So I take off my leaves and I have a bundle that's, you know, a handful size. And then I'm going to squish it all together because another thing is some people will just put this in their different Mexican dishes. Oh, I need cilantro. Oh, I need my leaves. And they just stick that in there. And that kind of sticks to the roof of your mouth and all over the place. So I like to make my cilantro small as well. So if I bunch it all together in a ball, and then I just come along like this, and I move my fingers back as I go, and pull them back in if those little pieces come up, and I can just go right through, and I have made all of those pieces of cilantro little. Now I may want to do a little bit more across this way. But for the most part, you've got your cilantro in little pieces that are more bite-sized, and you're not going to have big pieces of cilantro. This is probably a little bit more than I want to use today. For this 1 pound, you just kind of do what you think. I'm going to grab a bundle like this and put it in. If when we go to taste it, I need more, I can save this and we can have more later. Okay. Get that cilantro off my fingers because all those little pieces get stuck. Okay, so we have shrimp, can of Rotels, a 1/2 cup of onions, a 1/4 cup of jalapenos, and do you see the consistency of color here? Okay, we've got just a nice, whatever, I don't like the skin in there, ratio between shrimp and vegetables. Okay, then we're going to want to cover it with lemon juice or lime juice. Oh, I forgot I was going to show you this. So I have this old lime squeezer or citrus squeezer held together by a nail, and love it. It's been great for me, and I thought to myself, I need a new one. This thing is like so ancient and I need a new one. So I went to the store and I bought this pretty shiny new yellow one. Came home to use it and it does not do as good a job as this one. This is like old cast iron steel. I don't know. Like I said, it broke. We threw it together with a nail and I still love it better than the new one. So I still use my old one. You can cut your limes in half and I like to turn them upside down. Even though you think the way this is designed, we're gonna go right side up and squeeze it like this. I like to turn them upside down. And these are baby limes. You can use big limes and everything like that, but to me, this does the best job. Now the objective here is we want to cover all the shrimp with lime juice. That's a lot of lime juice. We want it to really be saturated in lime juice. So I'm putting those in here and squeezing that out. And see how simple and easy that is? It's really a great little tool for those of you that don't have one. Where you can get a good one like this, I don't know, because this thing, I think I got it at Walmart. It is not that great. So I've already juiced a bunch of limes. I would say for a pound of shrimp, you're probably looking at about a half a cup of lime juice. And you do not use bottled lime juice. You have to use fresh lime juice. That's the taste that you want, is this fresh lime juice. It's really, that's the only way to do it. That gives it the freshness, just the overall good taste. Again, in the rotels, you tend to get little butts and things, and I don't like them, so I pull them out. Okay, so that's all in there. As far as seasoning, we're just putting salt. We're gonna put in about a half of a teaspoon of salt, okay? I don't know that that's enough. Maybe 3/4. And if you need to add more later, you can. So, about 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Mix that in. And then typically I like to use Tabasco, but I could not find Tabasco at the store. So we're gonna use Cholula. So the Cholula, you're going to just kind of put in some, I'd say that's probably about a tablespoon. You can season it that way. It gives it a little bit of that tomato taste that you're not gonna get out of the rotels. And then you can see that the coloring of our juice has kind of turned reddish with the tomatoes and the Cholula. So it kind of has a tomato saucy taste that you're not getting out of fresh tomatoes or the rotels. Now, I have been to restaurants where I have ordered ceviche and it has a very strong tomato sauce taste. I don't like that. This is, Christine's version is more of a lime taste. Okay, so that's looking really good. And then lastly, we're gonna add in the avocado. So I wanted to show you this, is what I like to do, and I hope I have that spoon. Okay, here it is. Cut your avocado in half around the seed. In order to get the seed out really easy, don't hit your finger, but go right here. Whoops, a little bit harder, and then you can twist it out. Okay, now I can't get it off. Then we want to have diced pieces of avocado. So I like to take my avocado half and I make a little grid in there. Okay. Now I'm using a more dull knife because it doesn't take much to cut the avocado because it's soft. And you could probably use a table knife, but I'm using this kind of dull sharp knife. Then you go back to your little grapefruit spoon and you can use it to just pop it right out. And you follow along the edge of the avocado skin, okay? And then it is diced into, let me get a piece and you can see it, little bite-sized pieces. Now remember that if this one's a little bit more tough, it's not super soft, it's just perfect. It's just right time to eat. And but if it is softer, you want to have bigger squares because it's going to break down when you go to stir it. So if it's a really soft avocado, you'll want to have bigger squares because once it stirs, it's going to go down and you'll have a little bit more of a bite-sized piece, bite-sized chunk. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. That is about 2 cups. I used 2 full avocados, but I like a lot of avocado. You could probably get away with only using 1 if it was a large. So, but chopped up and kind of loose in there is about 2 cups of avocado. So 2 avocados. And then if you need to kind of break up that avocado a little bit because your chunks are kind of big, you can do that with your spoon. And this is what our shrimp ceviche looks like. So you can eat this by itself if you want, or you can eat it on a chip like a dip, but it is a really great fresh summer appetizer, or make it part of your main dish. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you try it in your home. It's really quite simple. There's really not a lot of cooking involved, just getting that fish cooked to start with, or go in raw and really try with that lemon juice. If you do that, you want to leave the lemon or lime juice on the fish for at least 20 minutes to get that. And if you're using tilapia, the tilapia needs to be white in color. It's not going to be see-through, and that would be the same with the shrimp. The shrimp has kind of a transparent look about it. Once it's cooked, it's more of a solid white. So you'll know that when your citrus has cooked that fish all the way through. So don't forget to go out to christineskitchen.info, and I will have the recipe posted out there shortly. But you should be able to follow along the video and make a really nice dish. So have a good evening. Thanks.